It's like the old days.
I'm Scott. I'm a former Romeo High School graduate and D1 football player. And I live and breathe Romeo High School football.
All I hear, go get the money, so I go get it. Hate means I do something right, so I'ma let him.
I've known Scott actually my entire life. We actually started playing football with each other back in high school, and it should have stopped there, but he just kept coming over to my house and asking to hang out. I mean, 40 years old, and look at him. He still comes over and plays with himself at Barnabo Field. I heard he was coming to the football games through the parents at the PTO meetings, requesting some restraining order.
You guys want to check out the press box? So here's the press box, where you'll find window crusties. And if you're lucky, a local Tim Meyer.
I hate that guy. You mean you want a 40-year-old guy running around the football field at your kid's football game? I mean, it's weird.
What would you tell him?
Well, I tell him, I'm Tim Meyer, and I tell him, watch the game on the Mitt TV and stay 100 yards away from Barnabo Field.
It's a community, you know? The players, the people, students.
I honestly have no idea who this guy is. I thought he was some Make-A-Wish kid. He comes like every game, and he's like, what, 60?
What's so funny?
What's up?
Let me see it.
No, man. He always tries talking to us, but we always ignore him every time.
Do anything fun later? Do anything cool?
Just a party.
Really? Like, what's the Addy? Maybe I'll cruise on by, check it out.
It's like a invite-only type thing. You know, a lot of guys.
A lot of guys, like dudes?
Yeah, a lot of dudes.
Is there anything that could stop you from coming to the game?
No.
COVID?
No.
Russia?
I would say he doesn't have to come to the high school games anymore. He can stay at home, put on the Mitt TV, and watch the games live right at his couch. You're 40 years old. You can't keep coming to these high school football games.
I'm 39.
It's over, Scott.
Barnabo Stadium's my home.
Your home is a one-bedroom, one-bath, and a cat named Coco.
No!
It's over, Scott. Use this. The Mitt TV's on there. It's live.
Here. Oswald? Here. Poznansky? Murdoch? Here. Stevens?
Here.
Bowers? Not. More. Lee? Here. St. Laurent?
Here. All right. Before we go into our Pledge of Allegiance, I just wanted to make a quick comment. Comments, a couple. So first I wanted to welcome Karen and Tom to the board. So it's nice to have you both here.
Thank you.
And I did misspeak at last month's meeting. Our elections are actually, according to our bylaws, in July. So we had talked about it last month, that it was in June. It's not in June, it's in July. So just wanted to remind everybody about that. And that I wanted to thank John Rose for all of his work. He did resign from the board. So as a reminder, as we think about officer positions, he was our secretary. So we will be electing chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer at the July meeting. So just please give it some thought. Obviously, the secretary position's open. I have already let Danielle and Kay, I'm sorry, know that I have already done 2 years as a officer, so we do have all those positions to fill. So just want to keep it in everyone's mind. But I do apologize because I did think it was in June. All right, now we can stand for Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so we will move on to approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I do have a question again. At the bottom, it says, our bylaw says 5 minutes to let the residents speak, and on the bottom of the agenda, it does say 3 minutes. I'd like to move that to 5 today.
I can amend my approval of the agenda to allow for 5 minutes.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Can we do a roll? Sorry.
Sure.
I'd like to have a roll.
Okay. Lee,
Yes.
Oswald,
Yes.
Hutnick,
Yes.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yeah.
St. Laurent.
Yes. And then we'll move into approval of the May 5th meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All right, let's do a roll call for this too.
Okay. Lee,
Yes.
Oswald, Yes.
Hutnick?
Yes.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Stevens,
Question. Should I be approving these minutes since I wasn't on the board last month? I'm not going to deny or approve, or, just a question.
Yeah, it's a good question.
I
don't know.
I
officially
mean, it
know the
sounds like
answer.
it's going to be
Yeah.
unanimous,
Yeah.
but just in terms of protocol.
I
and everything.
believe that you are required to vote unless you
Yes.
have a personal,
Okay,
yeah.
so you can say no.
they're good, yes.
I'm just trying
That's
to
the only
remember
thing is I
read.
think you are required to vote, so,
Okay.
St. Laurent.
yes. All right, and that'll go to public forum. If there's anyone that would like to speak on public forum for an item that's not on the agenda, you will have a time if any motion is made within the agenda. Okay, seeing none, we will move on to financial report.
Okay, so Plant Moran provided us the financial statements from July 1st, 2024 to May 22nd, 2025. Total revenue earned in April was $60,457.14. Total bills presented for approval are $30,722.33, leaving an ending balance of $272,447.46.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills and receive and file the monthly report.
I'll second.
That was you,
One-
Kathy?
Yes.
One note, Kay, I don't know if we've already been in touch with them, but those 3 checks from 2024 that haven't been cashed we're going on a year now. So,
Okay, we'll do roll call.
Lee,
yes.
Oswald,
Yes.
Hutnick,
Yes.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
St. Laurent.
Yes. That brings us to our 2024-2025 budget amendment.
So this is the final budget amendment for 2024-25 budget. We received additional funds from Washington Township in the amount of $5,000, or that brings us into a surplus of $5,530. We had to adjust our line items for employee expenses. So we adjusted upwards of $10,870 for that. Computer programming fees, they adjusted for the new computers we're gonna need to order, so that's in the budget. Contracted services went down by $7,525. And the Holiday Greens installation went down by $2,000. The change in the fund balance is $118,743 to date. Are there any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the budget amendment as presented.
I will second that.
All right.
Okay, we'll do a roll call.
Lee,
Yes.
Oswald,
Yes.
Hutnick,
Yes.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
St. Laurent.
Yes. Which brings us to funding requests. We have not received any requests for funding in the last month, so we can move into new business. Romeo DDA merchandise.
These are
You
cool,
wanna-
okay?
What's that?
I said, these are cool.
I love them.
So this is just the female versions. We're still working on the male versions, even though some of these sizes are all unisex, but anyway, these are the designs for the women's, in an effort to gain exposure to our new DDA branding and logo. We decided that it would be a good idea to have some new merch for people to buy at our events and at our office, the DDA office. So these are the ones that we've landed on after sharing them about, and we did get a quote from FAMS. So the initial order, we didn't go too big. We wanted to keep it kind of small to see, what is popular, what's not popular, just kind of a safe run the first time. So we landed on doing Romeo sweatshirt, just peachy sweatshirts, and the Small Town Girl tanks and t-shirts, which the cost will be $3,230. And then I did a little calculation based on what we would sell them for, what the profit looks like.
I think they look great.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Good job.
So
So
we're-
I'll make a motion to approve the merchandise order from FAMS in the amount not to exceed $3,230.
I'll second.
You're making it very easy to do.
I know. We're in a group.
My goodness.
All right, before we vote, is there any public comment on this item?
It says, can we get any other color than white, or is it just white?
So a couple of these are actually going to be oatmeal, so they won't be stark white. I think we only have one item, the tank and one of the sweatshirts that, no, not this go round. So just the tank tops and the t-shirts will be white, and the rest are an oatmeal color
It's more flattering.
for us on well water.
Yeah. All right, any public comment on this item? All right, we can bring it to a vote.
Lee,
Yes.
Oswald,
Yes.
Hutnick,
Yes.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
St. Laurent.
Yes. Our next item, new business, social media and website RFPs.
So our 6-month contract with Verona Creative Marketing expired in April. And so we've been looking at some reporting that's been provided for the last 6 months to see kind of our effectiveness and successes. Although I think we have the right strategy, I think we could use some improved quality as well as just consistency in our plan. which spurred me to reach out and receive quotes from other vendors to compare as well with cost, because the costs, are important. So I sent the RFP out. I did receive 4 quotes back. And basically, just in this graph, show you, the services, they all cover the same services and what their total amount would be. I did have meetings one-on-one with these vendors, and out of everybody, I really was impressed with Ignite, just for length of time doing this work, proximity to the community.
Where are they? I was going to ask you.
They're out of Rochester, but the family is from Romeo.
Oh, okay.
So very familiar, very available. The only thing that he would provide the reels and the video work, however, it's not like their strength. So I did reach out to a recommendation that I received for a videographer, and which is Ryan Miller, and his work is incredible. And I was able to negotiate down so that it could fit into our budget.
And what does that video portion look like? Is it in here? Oh, is this?
So it's the 4 reels a month, and he will be available to do live events if and when we want them to do it. Yeah.
So with, I just lost him, Ryan Miller?
Mm-hmm.
So he will coordinate them with Ignite, like once he creates content, we don't have to be the go-between. He communicates with them and they get it loaded.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And I'll just say, if you want to look through, Verona did provide their monthly traffic report. Kind of my concerns are just the consistent flat line of where we are. We're not, adding any followers. We're not, getting more website page hits. We're just kind of flatlined. And so I feel like if we try maybe a different vendor, if we're still seeing the same results, maybe we go another direction with our funds.
I think, I would agree. I think we did see some posting issues as well, as far as accuracy. So I think.
How long with this contract? Is it year to year, month to month?
We're a 6-month.
We're entering into a 6-month.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I missed it. I'll make a motion to approve entering contract with Ignite Media for social media and website management services in an amount not to exceed $1,250 per month, and entering a contract with Ryan Zeller for video production in an amount not to exceed $1,000 per month.
I second it.
Changing it up.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Is there any public comment on this item? All right, any discussion from the board?
Good job, Kay.
All right,
Yeah.
we'll take a vote.
Yes.
Okay. Lee?
Yes.
Hutnick?
Yes.
Oswald?
Yes.
Murdoch?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
St. Laurent?
Yes. All right, Tri-County One Source brochure.
I wish I had the mock-up to show you guys, because it's super cool. But anyways, so the Parks and Rec issues a community brochure 3 times a year, sends it to all the residents with all of the activities and clubs and just everything. And they invited the Village of Romeo and the Romeo DTA to be a part of it this time, so that we just have one source of information, and it keeps the cost down for everybody. So we'll be starting, if you guys approve it, the first issue will be fall of this year. It will go out to 17,000 residents, and again, it's a tri-county community directory.
So what exactly will we be putting in it?
So we are going to share 4 pages with the village, and some ideas would be, resource information like who to contact, things like that for different things, our events that we're having. I would propose that we have an updated shopping, dining, retail guide,
Okay.
things like that.
I'll make a motion to approve participating in the Tri-County brochure at a cost not to exceed $2,000 annually.
I second. Kathy?
Sorry, you guys sound identical.
I know.
I'm gonna separate you.
We do that on purpose.
All righty, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any comment from the public on this item? Hearing none, is there any discussion from the board? Okay, we can go ahead to vote.
Lee,
Yes.
Oswald,
Yes.
Hutnick,
Yes.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
St. Laurent.
Yes. All right, the next item is voting process. Where are we at with this?
So I received a couple of suggestions that possibly we do our election next month via ballot. So I put it on the agenda for discussion and provided what a sample ballot would look like.
So we are allowed to vote by ballot. We did verify that, so that is a thing we're able to do. I personally think we need to stand by our votes, and I think we need to say them from the board table. It's not something that I'm in favor of. I think that the public deserves to hear our vote on each item.
Is this an actual, our bylaws would be amended?
No. It's not specific in our bylaws for how the vote is to take.
Right, I'm sorry, I was reading this part where it says amended and restated bylaws, Village of Romeo
Oh.
Downtown Development Authority, Article 1, Board of Directors, officials, and then this.
Yeah, that's just for informational
Okay, so this is
purposes.
just the example.
Yeah.
It's
A
not
sample.
going in our bylaws.
Right.
Okay, got it. Thank you, sorry.
So that's the stated bylaws, and then this is the example,
Yes.
correct? Okay.
So is this something that the intention is to approve this is the process that we do going forward? Or is it just for this year? Are we gonna have to, do we have to decide this each year, or how does that?
That's again up to the board.
Yeah.
If you wanted to make it permanent, then we could update our bylaws to state that. Or you can have this discussion each year,
And
pre-election.
choose each month, not each month, each year. So.
And when we go, and sorry, Andrea, when we go into closed session and we don't vote in closed session, correct? We come out of closed session and we have to vote in public, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm kind of along the same lines as Andrea. Even when we have a need to go into closed session, we come out and we vote publicly. It's an open board, and I personally would prefer to just vote openly to the public so they can hear.
So we would only use this during the election of the officers, not,
Right, yeah, yeah.
I guess, what is I don't know who requested it, but what would be the benefit of it?
I requested it.
Okay,
And the reason I requested it is because I knew that we were possibly going to have a new person or we have two now. And I think it gives us, and myself too, time to kind of think about it and think about the roles and put it on paper. I think we should all stand by what we vote. It has nothing to do with that. I think it just kind of gives you that, let me sit here, let me think about it, instead of, okay, okay, I'm gonna nominate this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, and then we're gonna do it. The one time that I've been a part of it. I feel like this looks more, in my opinion, it just gives you that time and to think about it and really look at it.
Are we
we
writing
would
this
still-
down, are we writing this down at the table when we get here, or we would take this and be able to do it?
I don't think we can do that though, because I think we're
That's why I'm asking, what
required
is the-
to,
You would do it here.
Sitting here? Okay.
Sitting here.
but we
doing
would
it.
still need to make a motion. For example, I would make a motion to nominate Susie Q to be the secretary. We would still have to have a motion and a second.
But then Kay would be the one that would state who is nominated.
But she wouldn't, we would still have to say it at the table if we make a nomination.
It would still be done, yes, but Kay would handle all of that.
Can
How?
walk me through this?
Yeah, I'm not understanding.
So we all do the ballot.
So I just sit here, nobody puts anybody up, right? I
Right,
just.
you just write it
I
down.
Write it down, whatever I want.
We hand all the ballots to Kay.
Okay,
And she'll go through and then she'll say, so-and-so's nominated by so-and-so.
so then that person would have to,
Then that,
if you were nominated and everybody, you were the
They
top
would
person.
have to accept it.
Okay, so you're the top person for the chairperson. You would have to say, yes, I accept that
They would still
nomination,
have
and then
to.
we all have to vote yes or no for that?
The only difference is you're not gonna know who nominated Kathy or
no, she
Susie
would say,
No, you'd
That's
have
what
to.
I'm
no,
asking.
she would say, let's say I nominate, so-and-so for whatever, for secretary, but be on here, but Kay would actually be the one to read them off.
She would count them all and read off the top, or she would
I don't-
she would read each one individually?
She would read each one individually. So
Okay.
if there's two people nominated for the same position, then we would know that, and then we would go ahead and then vote that way.
So what would
So-
you do in a situation, so this is my only thinking of it. Okay, so typically currently, there's a nomination made, a second, the board votes. It either passes or fails. If in this situation, for sake of argument, there's two people nominated, there's even votes, now what do we do?
Well, that'll happen in either way, right?
Because you'd have one nomination, a second, and a vote. It either passes or doesn't. This way, we could have two nominations. They could each get equal number of votes, and now we've got a tie. What do you do then?
You could still have a tie the other way as well.
You couldn't. Because the other way, if I nominated Susan to be secretary and Danielle seconds it, that goes through a vote, either yes or no.
As
before
as a nomination, not as a vote.
No, as a
As a
vote.
vote.
As a vote. So then if
Right.
before that, if it either passes and now Susan's the secretary, or it doesn't pass and someone can nominate someone else. This way, we could have an even number, and now what's
Who
the
gets put up
protocol?
for the nomination? So if Kay gets all these pieces of paper, and there's 3 for Kathy for chairperson and 3 for Karen for chairperson, who gets put up for the nomination?
Well, that's where people would vote for one or the other.
But what if the vote's
Wouldn't it just
even?
go to another vote then?
So you
And
have to
forgive
start
me
over?
because I'm just
No.
catching up with
Right.
all of this,
Yeah.
okay? So, but would it not just go with another vote? Would this not be more of a formal way of doing it? Whereas,
Yes.
just say there were 2 people that wanted to be nominated for secretary, all right? And forgive me again, because
No, yeah,
this is
no,
all,
that's-
this is kind of
yeah.
new to me. So, I'm just saying, Kathy got nominated for secretary, but I was kind of hoping to be nominated, right?
You could
So would
nominate-
this not make it a little more fair, where it would at least
Yes.
go to a second vote?
Right.
Well, that
right.
has to,
And-
that's what we're saying. So
Right.
this piece of paper all gets passed down to Kay. And we're ready to vote for the secretary. Who is she letting us vote on?
Okay.
Yeah.
Right
so-
now.
So Danielle's been nominated and seconded and gets 3 votes. Tom's been nominated and seconded, and we each give him 3 votes. We now have 2 people that each have 3 votes.
Right.
What now?
Would it not go to like
would-
another vote?
it would
go
Maybe
to
it
another-
would-
What if it
I know,
never
Maybe it
changes?
would go to a
It would-
stance,
No, I
go
understand,
to
I'm just
another-
saying, so then we
Yeah.
say, okay, we're gonna vote again, and everyone says, I'm sticking, my
Right.
3 say I'm sticking with
How do you
Tom.
break,
I have
how
a
do you break
quarter
a
in
tie?
my
How do you break a
Yeah.
tie?
How do you break the
Right,
tie?
that's my concern is, so now we've put together, so you got 3 people voting for this one, 3, and everyone says, I'm not changing my vote, I'm sticking with my guy, you guys are sticking with your guy. What do we do?
But it could happen the other way without
It could
that.
not happen the other way.
No, and that's why I feel like this way might be more fair, because just like Karen said, what if there are 2 people that want to possibly be the secretary, and then that way, the other way is the first one that's nominated, basically, if everybody, then that's the one that kind of,
You could also have a situation, it's just, we all nominate ourselves and vote for ourselves. We all have 1 vote now. Now what do we do? I'm just saying, like that, what's the tiebreaker to answer?
So
to
is
I
say
guess,
your
can
question?
anything
can
written
we,
anywhere?
procedurally, can we go back to my question, because I don't think it was really answered, I'm sorry. So Kay gets these pieces of paper. to go down to K, and she's ready to read the nomination for secretary. And there are two people that received the same exact number of votes for secretary. What happens now? Do we all have to try again for secretary so that there's one nomination for secretary? Or, like, how do you know who the first person is to nominate? You have two piles sitting in front of you. This person has 3 votes, this person has 3 votes. What are you gonna say as far as this person is the nomination for secretary?
Well, you're still,
So I
saying
think
you'd
you're
put
getting,
both up.
I think you're getting a little, I think you have to have the nominations, but then that's where the ballot comes in. So then you have the ballot in front of you.
So when are
So
we
she-
nominating? How does the nomination
You
work?
you nominate them first, so everybody goes into, and we nominate the people, whoever wants to be nominated, and then that's where the ballot comes in. She reads all the nominations, then we have the ballots in front of us, and then we vote
So-
on the ballot.
How am I voting for the nomination? How am I,
She's gonna read them.
but what am I physically using? I'm using this?
Yes.
No, I think
You'll
you just
have a ballot.
verbally, it's an open meeting, so if you want to nominate someone, you nominate them. And that's how the nominations are made.
So it could be that, Tom really only wants to be the secretary, so I can't write Tom as a chairperson, because he only wants to be the secretary? Like, do I
Yeah,
only
'cause
have
he would
certain
have to accept
options?
the nomination.
They have to accept the
Yeah.
nominations in order before you can
Anybody
vote
can
them.
nominate anyone.
We're just gonna
Right,
go
I'm
through the
just trying to
nomination
understand what the-
process. Yeah.
So-
What that looks like.
And I guess it goes, I go back, if we have 2 nominations and they're both voted, right? So we have a nomination for chairperson and chairperson, vice chair, secretary, and now Danielle and Tom, I'm just using you guys as my examples, not to put you on the spot, and they each get 3 votes. Who is now the secretary?
Then we'll just have to go in with a tiebreaker, I guess. I
But
mean, this
who's,
is,
well, that's what I'm asking, what is that?
How many voting board members will we have? Let's
Well, it
start there.
depends who comes to the meeting. If everyone's here, we've got 1, 2, 3,
8.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, if everyone's
9.
here.
Does Megan vote? She is a member of the
Yep,
board.
So
everyone
that's the
votes.
9th, so it won't be a tie with 9.
But if it was happening today, we have 6 people, it'd be a tie. You could have a tie.
But it could be.
So you know what I mean? Like,
It still
it
could be a tie
depends.
with 9 people.
Yeah,
and
it still could be a tie.
it
Because,
could still be a,
yeah,
it
it
still
could
could be a tie.
Because
yes.
3 people could choose me, 3 people could choose Tom, that's 6, and then the rest of you choose
Just
someone
somebody
else.
else.
Yeah,
It could
you
be.
could have a
It
three-way
still could
tie.
be.
You could have 3, 3, and 3.
So I'm thinking that this probably hasn't been the first time this question has come up.
We've never
So-
done,
We've
yes,
never-
it is.
yeah.
Anywhere, not just here, anywhere. Because there's ballots that, yeah, I mean, people do this all the time with different boards and different meetings, things like that, when you're voting for things, right? So I would imagine, and I can't tell you off the top of my head, but I imagine that there is a way that you're gonna say, this is the tiebreaker. I don't know, like the first course would be, let's take another vote. If it's still a tiebreaker, it could be something as simple as flipping a coin and saying, heads it's Kathy, tails it's Karen. I'm not, that's
Yeah.
very
Right.
simplistic,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, I'm sure
Well, it
that there
isn't.
would be a way.
Yeah,
But
to
it's
do
not,
this.
it's not common in DDAs that we've found, to try to figure that piece out. We talked to
Right.
the executive director of the MDA, and she doesn't have any experience with it, so that's all of Michigan. And then Christina either hadn't had any experience with it, just to get
Right.
some, yet, how do we do this?
Right.
One of my concerns too is that we're gonna be, if someone makes a motion to go this way, we're gonna be making a decision today. Our bylaws state we have to vote next month. We don't even know how that would plan out. You know what I mean? Like, and just using the if it
Right.
is flip a coin for sake of argument.
Right.
And I know
I
what you mean.
know.
But we have to make that decision now so that we can go into next
Okay.
month's meeting to
Okay.
say, how are we dealing with the tie
Okay.
if there is one?
Okay.
So we just need to have whatever that decision is,
Like
right,
Dan-
because
like-
by the end of next
yes.
month's meeting, we have to
Right.
be able to have a newly elected board of officers.
Right.
Okay.
It's just
All
like
right.
Danielle said,
All
we
right.
gotta have, what's the procedures?
So there's no time to really look into it, is
Well,
what
we
I'm saying.
did, so when it
Okay.
came up a couple weeks ago, we did reach out to the MDA. We reached out to Christina, who's does a lot of our consulting work for us. They didn't have any major feedback because they are not familiar with the DDA going this route. So those are my 2 concerns is I think, one, we should be saying our votes out loud And number two, if there's a tie, what's the plan, right?
Forgive me if I missed something. There's DDAs all over the state. What do?
They
They
vote
don't.
like we've always have.
And they've never had a dilemma.
They vote,
They
where
don't use
they
the
make a
ballot.
motion and they make a second, and then everybody votes. There's no ballot
And
involved.
if they run into this, without saying the word, if they run into this, I guess I'm confused, what do they do?
Well,
They
nobody's
haven't
ran
had
into
any.
it, because
They
no
haven't.
one's done this
So
before.
if you do this verbally, like the way you've been doing it, there's never been a time?
No, because you have a
Let me make sure I
motion.
understand that.
Okay,
So
and then
if
someone
I-
just says, okay.
So
all
if
right.
I were to say, I am going to nominate Susan to be secretary, someone here is gonna
Second it,
second it.
Okay.
Or not, and then the motion dies. If it's seconded, then we vote.
okay.
It's
if-
not like who votes for Susie, who votes
Yeah,
for Tom.
now Susan gets the majority of votes, she's the secretary. Susan doesn't get the majority of the votes,
You have to nominate someone
nominate
else.
someone else. Now we're gonna nominate Tracy.
Okay,
And so there is never an option for a tie,
okay,
and it does require the board to, vote out loud, which, like I said, those are my two concerns.
right.
I guess forgive me for being a neophyte here, because this procedure is the same throughout the state.
And I'm only saying
And
that,
I'm struggling trying to believe that they haven't run into this issue before, and there wouldn't be information we could obtain to say, what did you do?
Well, what's the
Did
issue?
you arm wrestle? Did you,
But it hasn't
There
been
is
an
an
issue, because
they're not
when
using
we've
a
reached
ballot.
out to the DDA, no one's using ballots.
Okay.
So the issue has not come up because nobody's doing it that way. When we reached out to the MDA, they said, we don't know anyone who does it that way, we're not familiar with it. Everybody does it, for sake of argument, the old-fashioned way. They make a motion, second. We're kind of being the trailblazers, talking about doing it this way, and they said, we're not familiar with anyone that does it by
They
a
couldn't give
ballot.
us any tips, helps, tricks, because they haven't seen it.
That brings in another question. Why did we change it?
We
Well,
didn't
we
change
have
it.
it.
We
That's
did
the
it.
question
Why
now.
are we changing it?
That's
Because I asked
Okay.
for the
Okay.
discussion.
for the
Apologize, and
discussion
again,
on
this is
about,
my
on
first
changing it.
night.
Yeah, so that's where
Because
the
I knew we
discussion
would
is.
have new people,
Okay.
or at least one new person
Yeah.
coming into the board, but just to make it,
Yeah, all right.
So what I would suggest, again, I'm not a fan of it, but it's up to the board. If someone wants to make a motion, they're welcome to kind of maybe speak on your concern of people being able to say what they're interested in. We do at the end of this meeting, we have board member comments, and I would think that that would be a good time, if I really wanted to be treasurer, to say at my board member comments, hey, guys, I'm really interested in the treasurer position. I would hope that you guys would consider me for that role next month. Now, when next month comes, if you so chose, you could say, someone could then nominate me knowing that I had kind of thrown my name out there, that I'm interested in it. That would, to me, try to quasi-answer that concern.
right.
Well, let me ask Kay, have you ever heard of this being done, or what are your,
I mean,
What are your thoughts?
I'm new to the board scene. So all I can speak to is the conversation I had with Christina. And she, again, said, yes, it is allowed, but she has very limited experience with it. So we'd have to research. I'm sure there's an answer, because people vote by ballots all the time.
Well, that's what, that's
But we
what I was
just,
saying.
I haven't, that question didn't come up, so I didn't know to look
Well,
into
This
it.
and I
has to be-
think-
This has to be done tonight.
Well, we vote next, we have to have a decision. So, and this is one of my
Well,
other,
if someone makes a motion, then you have to vote on the motion. If someone doesn't make a motion,
then
then
we go like we always
we
have.
have been, yeah.
My concern is, people vote by ballot for different things all the time.
Right. There could be a tie.
The DDAs typically do not. That's been our other research from this. I don't know that we want to be one of the first to do it and then deal with whatever negativity could come out of it as well. It's not like we have a roadmap of here's 6 other cities and here's what's worked and here's the things to look out for. We're now gonna be like I said, the trailblazers on this, and I don't know. I don't know all the yeses and nos on it to make sure that we are 100% compliant with Open Meetings Act, Are we 100% compliant with how we should handle a tie? Because now you get into votes, right? And there is nothing in our bylaws that talk about, what do? Do you just keep voting again? Do you flip a coin? Do you pick a magic number? I personally am not comfortable making that decision without anyone doing it before us that has already went through the motions and said, here's what works, here doesn't, this is what legally you guys are covered. If someone does complain, if someone from the public says, you know what, I think that was in violation of the Open Meetings Act, whether it was or it isn't, we're not gonna have an answer. We're gonna be the first ones filing the Open Meetings Act complaint on that and having to suss it out at that point. So that's my view on it.
So if we decided to go ahead with the vote, and I said abstain,
You can't.
then what happens?
You
Why
cannot
can't I?
abstain, because as a member of the board, you are required to vote on every motion.
And an abstention is not a vote?
No.
Well, that's true, I understand.
Yeah. So
Unless
you
you
are
have a personal
so like last month.
conflict of interest.
Yeah, thank you. John was requesting, so he was able to abstain
Yeah,
because of the.
I know the reason for the
Yeah,
abstention.
but-
It's different no matter what you're talking about, but.
But you are
Right.
required to make a vote. That's why all of us were voted by the village council to be on this board, is to vote. So we cannot abstain. And that's the other thing is, I mean, not that I think anyone would do it, but again, looking at worst case scenario, if I fill out my ballot and I don't mark, I mean, there's just so many open-ended questions that I'm just not comfortable that we have all the answers right now to make this sort of change. And whenever it comes to Open Meetings Act and, you know.
Yeah, but now I'm a little confused. We don't have all the answers. Why are we determined to go forward? Everybody's gonna get beat up or what's, that?
Well, I don't think we're I mean, it's just a topic of
No,
conversation.
we're not determined to go forward, but I wanted to bring it up for discussion and not necessarily,
For discussion.
Yeah.
just for
Yeah.
discussion purposes and then also
But
with.
the new kid on the block just.
Yep,
wanted to
and
ask a
that's
bunch of
why, and that's why I requested
Okay.
that, is
Okay.
because I figured, I didn't know you were coming, but Karen, I knew she was going to be
Yeah.
on board, it was a new person. I felt like it should be open for discussion, being that the fact that they were gonna be here so new into the game, and then we vote.
Yeah.
That's
No,
why.
and I agree, when some of us were, 2 years ago, we had a whole new board and it was first meeting, so I get it. I think my opinion would be that, if someone's interested, they can definitely say it at public comment. If it's something that, we're serious about looking forward to, I would say then we go back to Kay and we say, can you get an attorney to, maybe not this time around, but the next time around. Can we get something from an attorney who's going to back us and say, here are all the steps, and you guys are covered, right? And if somebody has an issue, whether it be a board member who has a complaint later, or a public member, we've got an attorney that has given us a statement, and we're backed. Because right now, it's just, and like I said, we don't even have the answers, so that's my other kind of concern.
But anyone on the board could make a motion to go forward with
Yes.
this.
Right.
That's your
Right.
call. Anybody could make a motion in a second, and then we would have to vote, so.
So if we did this, just say we took a vote on it and everyone agreed, or the majority
passed.
agreed,
It
or
passes,
whatever.
yeah.
Okay, would that be like set in stone that we will always be doing it this way?
No.
No, it would be
So-
this year.
Okay.
That was
This
my
year's.
question at the beginning. It would be this year, and then if the board decides in
Right.
June of next year, what do we want to do now?
Because, I mean, just devil advocate here or whatever, because what if it turns out to be a really better way to do things?
And
Could be.
it
Like
could be.
Exactly, and
It
that's what
could
I'm saying,
be.
but we don't know.
Well, we don't know, but my
That's-
concern
yeah.
is if it's a better way to do it, I would like to know it's a better way to do it, and we have crossed all the Ts and dotted all the Is legally. For us to make this change now and not be 100% secure,
What makes you think that that wouldn't be legal?
well, I don't know. I don't know yet, right? I don't know what the law says,
But how do we know that the way we've been doing it is legal?
because that's the way that that's normal board policy at all boards.
Okay.
This is going into a different direction. So
Okay.
if there is a complaint of an Open Meetings Act violation, or if, let's say, there's no complaint of that, but we split it, right? It's 3-3. And what we chose as the tie breaking is not a legal way to do it.
Okay. Right, okay, I
You know what I
get it.
mean? Like, that's-
Right.
yeah.
And I'm just trying to see it from both
Yeah.
sides, that's all. I'm just trying to figure out,
Yeah. I mean,
Well-
if-
So do we have a motion?
No, well, I have something first. Robert's Rules, Section 46, they talk about voting by the ballot. And it says, "The main object of this form of voting is secrecy and is resorted to when the question is such of a nature that some members might hesitate to vote publicly their true sentiments. Its special use is in the reception of members, elections and trials of members and officers, as well as in the preliminary steps in both cases. And the bylaws should require the vote to be by ballot in these cases."
Okay, so do we have a motion that we want to do with this by ballot?
Well, I think we should, for the two new people on the board, let's go through how we do it, so they understand the process.
So it's there, once the subject comes up at next month's meeting, I will still be the chairperson, so I will say, okay, we are ready to elect our new board of officers. And then someone has the option to make a motion. I would like to make a motion for Susan to be the new chairperson. Someone on the board may second it. If it receives a second, then it would go to board vote, just like any other motion we've done thus
Okay.
far. If no one seconds it, then the motion fails, and now you could say, I'd like to nominate Tracy, and we go through that process again. Once someone gets a second and we vote, if the majority are yeses, then that person takes that role.
and there's no, like, I know you were saying there's no way there could be a tie that way.
No,
Someone
because you're voting on
seconding it
one
and-
person at
You're
a time.
voting on one
One
person at a time.
Right.
So
So if-
I meant, like, what if there's 2 yeses and 2 nos?
then it doesn't pass.
Okay.
You
all
have to
right,
have
okay.
Then
the
it doesn't.
majority.
Okay.
Yeah, the majority.
So that's not considered a tie then, that's just a fail.
Fail. You have to
Okay.
have the majority vote of the board to pass a motion. So
Okay.
if we made a motion and 3 voted yes and 3 voted no, the motion fails.
Okay,
So you have to have the majority,
Then you'd have to put
Right.
somebody else up.
yeah.
right. And I'm just going back to my very, very first concern was that if just say Tracy, is there really a Tracy? I don't know.
No,
There's
that's
not,
why I'm
right?
using that
There's
name. I'm
not,
just, yeah, I'm
right?
being safe,
I
yeah.
don't want to call anybody out,
Being
right?
safe,
Right,
yeah.
Okay, so fictional Tracy actually gets nominated and it's a yes or whatever, and a second person wanted to be nominated or was going to be nominated, and then that's just no longer a possibility whatsoever.
Correct.
Okay, so that's kind of why I kind of like that, but I see it both ways.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm still at a impasse a little bit. I'm leaning towards this though personally, but I'm new, so.
You're allowed to.
Yeah, I mean,
I
it's,
know it's
knew
an
it.
opinion.
yeah,
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 I
it's
mean,
all it
it's an
is.
opinion, I
Everyone's
know.
got their,
Yeah.
We
So-
just
I
can't, we
actually
can't
wanted to
vote.
just come and listen today and not say anything.
never,
Not
never,
gonna
never,
happen,
never.
Karen.
Nice try.
We just can't
Right.
vote on it unless there's a motion.
So
and a
yeah,
second.
so
Okay,
is
So
there a
right now, it's just
motion?
that's why I asked. If there's a motion, then we can actually
Yeah.
go
So-
to discussion, or vote on it, but.
And
So-
if there
And the
isn't,
public-
does it come back
Or we
next
can
week?
just table it, right? tonight?
Well, you
then
can't
it's-
really
no,
table it
no.
because next month's,
Yeah.
I mean, you could table it for the next round.
Yeah,
So then does it go away?
It goes away because we're not changing.
Because we need it. I mean, you
We
have to
vote
have a
next month.
decision.
Yeah,
Okay.
so if someone gonna make a motion to change our voting process.
I will motion.
Okay, so we have a motion by Karen, is there a second?
I'll second it.
So we have a motion by Karen, a second by Marty. Does anyone in the public have any comment?
I would have liked to have finished reading what I dug up on Robert's
I
rules.
thought you were done.
No, I wasn't done.
Oh, well, you
I
can
believe we
finish.
have,
Okay,
uh,
nope,
I
it's
believe
You
good.
put your phone down. I thought you were done.
No, I
We
wasn't.
have- yeah.
What?
I didn't even plan to speak about this, but hearing the conversation, I find it hard to believe that in all of Michigan and all the DDAs, none of them use ballots. And with all due respect, the whole parking fiasco, it was said by members of this board that all of the businesses in town were talked to about the parking, and it was not true. The computer store wasn't, Main Street Kitchen and Bar wasn't, Kind Beauty wasn't, Starkweather wasn't, among others. So that makes me wonder how deep into this questioning to the state of Michigan or others did we really go in finding out, do other DDAs use ballots? I find it hard to believe. Tom, you said something to that effect, that out of all the DDAs, none of them. I think it deserves more investigation. But then also, you know, the nominating someone, having a second, voting at all, it tends to be a little bit of a runaway train. And I think having a ballot, and I think to your point, kind of opens it up a little bit for somebody who might be sitting there thinking, you know, I'd really kind of like to nominate myself, but, you know, I don't want to seem too egotistical about doing that, where if 2 people or 3 people nominate different ones, then that gives that person or those persons a chance to say, you know, I really appreciate you nominating me. I am interested, and here's why. So to me, in listening again to all this discussion and thinking about it, I think a ballot is worth investigating. But thank you.
Sharon.
Thank you.
Marty, can you finish reading?
No,
for us?
it was just my personal opinion. I'm good with it. Thank you, though. No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, I have been on multiple boards for many years, and I understand both sides. If you've checked with the state as far as a violation of OMA, I personally think it is, because you are a public body. It may not be. It may not be a violation. Personally, I think it is. You are here as a public body, and so your votes and your thoughts need to be made public, and you can't vote by ballot because that's not being open and transparent. Tom, if you wanted to be chairperson, and you can say right now, because it's got to be done next month according to your bylaws. So I would say to all of you, and this is just my thoughts, if any of you have an interest in having any of the positions, let that be known today in public, in open, because there's also a thing called round robining, which is illegal, where you would call and say, Tom, you would call Kieran and say, you know, I really want to do this. Do you want to do anything? And call Andrea, I really want to do this. Do you want to? That is illegal. I know that is illegal. Because you are a public body. And I have also known other people that were in violation of Open Meetings Act, not in a DDA thing, but in a town board. And there was a record of this person being in violation, and she fought it, and she decided, you know, she was going to a jury of her peers because she was determined that she was correct, and she was found guilty by a jury of her peers. So I would err on the side of caution, because you haven't done all your research, because this just came up today and you have to know what you're doing next month. It would be my thoughts, and I have no say so obviously, to look into it for next year, but continue with the stated policy for this year and do your homework for next year. That's
Thank you.
just from my experience.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah. Of course.
Okay, so, hey, again, not knowing everything here, and you brought up a good point, so thank you. Did I misunderstand, though, that if there's ballots, right, and they all go to you, do you not read them off and like, who nominated this person? and who
Everything
voted?
is open.
So it does get
discussion,
spoken.
nominations, and voting.
So then it gets spoken as to
This is
Karen
just a way for you
nominated
to
and Karen
record.
voted for or something, so that's still public, right?
I thought you weren't saying who nominated for who.
No,
Yeah.
no, you are. She
So
would
it's-
say,
so
she would
it's still-
state
That's
that.
what I thought you had said, so it's still spoken.
It's
as
just
to-
a
spoken.
way.
Okay, so it's still public then?
It's still public.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe I misunderstood?
No,
So,
I did
okay.
get there from the discussion, but the way that all boards, in all of the boards that I have been on over the last 20-some years, it's never done like that, because you have person A saying, I nominate person X for this position. And then, and then it's seconded by someone, and then you vote, or it's not seconded, it dies, just as Andrea said. And then another vote, somebody else says, well, I nominate P for this position. And it's either seconded or not, and it goes through that way. So it could be a longer process, but it's very transparent, it's very open. There's no, you could have somebody say, that I wrote down, I wanted to be in this position, or I wanted you to be in this position, and the person didn't read it. Well, who is that to say?
Right. Does
then
anybody else?
Stand up and say, well, I put in this name.
Right.
Nobody said anything.
Okay.
So I really, and I mean, now you're talking kindergarten games.
We just have to be careful about time limits here. We
No,
can't be,
that's
it's
okay.
just gotta be
That was
employed,
just my
just
question,
comments,
so
yeah, sorry.
good.
Is there any more?
Any
public
other
comment?
public comment?
Ready?
All right, any other board comments before we go to a vote? All right, we'll go to, oh, sorry.
Yeah. For lack of a better word, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I hope I said that right, because that's why I asked the question about what does the rest of the state do? And, I was a DDA person a long, long, long time ago. And I've never heard, in all the time we were there, this kind of discussion brought up. So I'm a little baffled.
Well, and again,
I'm a little scared about, that's why I brought up the option of abstaining, because, wait a minute. In all the time that I was on the DDA originally, and for the folks that don't know, I was a trustee and a long, long time ago. I should have bought the picture. I looked much better then. Anyway.
Well, and we did,
But,
we did reach out.
Yeah, this is just a little new for me, and yes, that's my first night.
Yeah.
So I may ask some stupid questions. Which
It's not a stupid
You are
question.
sworn in, you are official.
Right,
But again, we did reach out to the MDA, we did reach out to Christina. I can only go by the fact that they've never lied to us before, so I don't know that they are lying to us now.
Christina.
Who is Decious, who does a lot of our consulting. She did our strategic plan for the DDA.
Oh, okay, I thought
She
I
was
was thinking of somebody else.
Our interim director before we brought Kay on. And again, they've never steered us wrong in the past, so I trust their feedback. They have no reason not to provide that information to us. So that being said, any other questions or comments from the board before we go to vote? All right, we'll take a roll call.
Can we repeat what the motion was, please?
Yes. The motion to approve voting by ballot for the Board of Officers at the July DDA board meeting.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Hutnick,
Yes.
Oswald,
No.
Stevens,
No.
Lee,
No.
St. Laurent.
No. Okay. Motion fails. Going into our next item, under new business is joint village council and DDA proposed meeting dates. So in an effort to improve the collaboration between the Romeo DDA and the Village Board of Trustees, a proposal for a joint meeting has been suggested. They have suggested the dates of July 14th with a backup date of July 17th, right here at 7 o'clock. So if any of those days are a no-go for anybody, I think we just have to respond back to them and say these dates are good for us.
I think July 14th was like
Their first choice.
choice.
Backup date being the 17th. So if everyone's able to be here on the 14th, we can let Megan know that that works. Unless anyone's got
Was
a.
it July 14th?
Yes. Yeah. Not June, please.
I was gonna say.
Push your luck.
What's the, what date?
July 14th, it's
Monday.
a Monday.
It works for me.
7
To
PM
meet
here.
here then?
Yes.
And we're just trying to discuss different ways for us to collaborate better. I'll give you an example. As we move forward with the social district, And what we've come into in the past, I'll try to keep it short, but what we've come into.
Yes to the date, but.
I'm sorry?
Yes, I can be there. I just want to make,
Yeah.
I had to run it through the.
So one of the things that came up was, the issues with the paid parking. That's kind of one of the conversations that stemmed this was, we were directed to do something, we did it, and then the village council said, oh, God, we wished you didn't do that. So as we move forward, because we do require the village council's buy-in when we do something, and because ultimately they have the ability to stop anything we have in motion. And when you're talking about large ticket items like the DDA does, we don't want to be halfway through a $30,000 project and have the village say, yeah, we don't want to do that anymore. So an example, when again I was bringing up the social district, some of the board members were very adamant, and I'm not saying rightfully or not rightfully so, that they wanted to make sure there were some protections about street crossings. So we need to know that before we put the whole program into place. So this sort of collaboration would allow us to, have them kind of give us everything that they're looking for on any topic. And so if that's a deal breaker for them, let us know now, and we can work that into our program going forward versus us putting a program forward and then later them saying, oh, I would have been all for it, but I didn't like the fact that you guys are crossing the street. We're not going to approve it. So really just making sure that we have from them buy-in, and they can let us know what they need from us so that when we do move forward with projects, it's hand in hand, and the chances of what happened before will be less likely to happen.
Is this a public meeting for anybody or just the board?
All meetings are public. So I will let them know the 14th works for everybody?
I put it in my calendar.
All right, beautiful. The next item is the Ignite Community Engagement Group.
Okay, so this was a proposed idea from Marty to put together some volunteers within the community and work as a group, kind of bridge the gap between the DDA and the community as well in getting some initiatives done. So they have, we have, I think 4 or 5 interested parties for this group, and we're actively scheduling a first meeting.
Okay. Moving into unfinished business. Multimodal streetscape conceptual planning services.
So Giffords Webster has concluded their public engagement segment of our contract, and they did receive over 300 responses to the survey, which was amazing. And now they're actively working on design concepts, which we should have this month.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Moving into art plan.
So unfortunately, our T-Mobile grant was not awarded. However, we do have other grant opportunities, and we'll be working on submitting that this month as well.
We learned a lot going through that process, didn't we? Yeah. But I think it'll help going forward.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just curious, do we know what the cost was for this art installation?
We did
Roughly?
not.
Or no?
I thought it was
$5,000?
I want to say it was 5
It
as
was
well.
a small project. Yeah.
Do we have, can we look at just funding it ourselves? I mean, I'm not saying to go, not continue to look for a grant to be paid back on it.
I would say let's ask Josie, and Josie is our grant writer. So we actually got a grant to get a grant writer. So she is no cost to us and works on any grants that we want her to work on. So maybe we can ask her where she's at on the grant status, and then next month if we want to fund something, we can.
Yeah, because it's part of our strategic plan.
Yeah.
Is art.
For sure.
Yeah.
We have the budget for it.
We have the budget for it. It's part of our strategic plan. If it's something that we can move forward, not saying don't continue with grant opportunities, but if it's reasonable and we can afford it, I think we should follow our strategic plan and implement it.
Perfect. Awesome. All right, wayfinding and attraction strategy.
So again, we have our designs, we have our cost schedule, implementation plan. We're just now looking for funding, and we're working with the Village of Romeo to find the source.
Sorry, I'm gonna ask the question again. Do we remember
Yes.
how much that cost?
It's going to be around 200,000.
Okay,
So-
and that's to fabricate the signage and install?
And install, yes.
It's not, I mean, that's a big
Chunk
amount
of
of money,
change, but it's
but
not
it's
as much
not
as I
for
thought.
what
It's
we're getting.
not,
Yeah.
it's not, and actually,
I thought it was.
It's a lot, yeah, I mean, it's,
and I saw, I think it was.
I thought it was gonna be a lot more.
There's another community locally that just completed their wayfinding signage, and it looks really great. I'm gonna reach out to them to see who's installed, so that we can get a second quote.
Is there an option that Josie can work on as far as, I know we're talking with the village, but grants for this as well?
Yeah, we're actively in a group with U of M and other stakeholders who have resources to pinpoint options for us to move forward with.
Awesome.
But it's kind of like a seek stage,
Yeah.
right? But we do have our, 15, 20% put away in our budget so that when we do find that source, we can move forward.
Pay for it.
Great. All right, spring decor.
Flowers are in, red, white, and blue.
Beautiful. All right, Visionary Leaders Circle.
I'll let Kathy give an update on that.
Okay, so we are currently trying to recruit more businesses to participate in the sidewalk sales. We currently have, I believe, 5 businesses at this point. Kay has volunteered to kind of walk the sidewalk and talk, and I told her I would go with her for moral support. So we're gonna go in person to see if we can actually recruit some more people and get some excitement in there. We are working on the cruise in Maine. Hopefully that's our next thing. We're meeting on Wednesday, so we'll probably have some more details on that and some better thoughts on that next meeting. Basically, that's about it. I think with summer coming about, we want to try to spur some of that activity in town. So I think at this point, the businesses are slow to go, but I feel like we just need to kind of push them a little bit with that. So we'll try that, and see how it goes.
I see that you guys are doing the Golden Girls Day Out, which is super cute. And I would suggest, if that is a success, as I'm sure it will be, there is also the, God, I can't think of her name now. So the wife.
Are you talking about the
Roper romper
Roper,
thing,
yes,
super
yes.
cute too. So it'd be kind of neat to do like some sort of like a theme.
Well, and that's kind of like how the Golden Girls theme would be. We had done one last September, and so everybody dressed up in their robes or their muumuus.
Super cute.
We had prizes for those who did. We had games, and I don't know if anybody saw any of our reels.
Yes.
We actually had 4 of our girls dress up. They were amazing. They were
That's
so
such a
good.
cute idea.
So, but I feel like it'll definitely be better if the whole village does it, because when people dress up like that, they want to show it off. And
Yeah.
they want to go from place to place and do that, so.
Yeah, I mean, that, we saw that with the Witches' Night Out. I mean, how many people got dressed up, and yeah, it would be kind of neat to see that become like kind of a theme, maybe a couple weekends throughout the summer, and
I would love to see that.
yeah, there's a Facebook page that's super cute.
Yeah.
That has that kind of stuff
One
that
of
you
the
could
communities
advertise.
is doing Bridgerton, just saying.
Oh, see,
I know, I was so jealous.
that's an expensive costume to pull together, though, so. Perfect, thank you. All right, Velocity.
Velocity, we continue to work with Velocity from out of Macomb to find resources for our small businesses downtown. They have partnered with us and provided, education on marketing, education on grant funding. They offer resources for small businesses, services like legal and marketing, things like that. So far, we've had them award 1 grant of $5,000. We've had another business submit their grant application. And then the DDA has also issued one business signage grant and working on receiving another one. So just keep the money
Flowing.
Perfect.
All right, that brings us to our executive director's report.
Okay, so this month I was able to move the newsletter that I had created into MailChimp just to give it more, it's easier to read via your phone. So, and you can track it, you know, how many opens, how many, you know, people see your message. So to get that done, I continue to do, you know, on-site visits with the businesses, kind of seeing what their needs are and how the DDA can help them. Again, we're putting on the sidewalk sale, so I've messaged that out with flyers, emails, newsletter, and tomorrow a text will go out because we do have text now. So that's going to be really, really effective communication for our small business. Events this month, we had a couple of really nice events, one with the Northern Macomb Chamber, which was the Women's Holistic Health event. And then we had another Velocity Roadshow, which was held at the library, both very successful. We went through the grants already, so we're just gonna keep working on finding money for our businesses. And everything else we've pretty much updated. I had the DDA board member onboarding guides that I did get put together, so that project I can check off. And I continue to work on the CRM, so I had a kickoff meeting with District 360 and went through what our needs are so they can customize it for us and start importing data. And I can't say enough how excited I am to get that done. So.
Now, do you have some kind of way to see that the business opened it, looked at it, confirmation? I mean, we can say that we've contacted all the businesses, but I can't make you open an email or read a text. So how do we make sure we're like touching all the key
can we
areas?
say 50 emails sent, 50 emails opened? I mean, I can't.
Again, you can't, I don't have to make sure you read
you
it,
can
but.
open it and not look at it, but we
so
have that ability.
Is it going to their spam? Is it, you know, are we even reaching them? What's happening?
Well, so I just imported, and this was my first one that I sent through MailChimp, but they do have reporting, so I can include that in our future, just for awareness.
I was just, if that's something you can see on your end.
And I can see that for the emails.
Do you have a way for like a preferred communication? You know, maybe Kathy likes email, but, you know, somebody else wants a text message or whatever.
I've been hitting all of the boxes.
But in just in that, your defense with that, 93% of texts get read.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good indication.
Yeah,
that
I
it's
was
gonna be the best
excited to see that add-on that we were able to get, because that has been overwhelmingly the response I've gotten.
Okay, good.
From the conversations I've had. But again, my touch points are every single month, you know, we're gonna call, we're gonna go on site, we're gonna email, text, all of the above.
Okay, cool.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to board member comments. I'll start down here, give our new people a minute to gather their thoughts, so we'll start down here with you, Marty.
I just wanted to welcome Tom and
And what's her name?
Karen. I was gonna call you Carol. Tom and Karen, I'm so sorry, Karen. Welcome.
Thank you.
That's it.
Kathy?
Same here. Glad you're here. Thank you so much for volunteering with the rest of us with that. Just a couple of things, though, I want us to look at. I know, and the reason why I know this is because I'm looking at possibly the sign grant. And one of the reasons why it's not here today is because I thought that we needed to present it twice and then also have information from the village that basically I had my permit and that was approved. It does not state that in our word.
Bylaws.
In our bylaws, not bylaws,
yes.
but in our funding thing. So that's just something I think we might want to look into and maybe
revise?
Revise that because luckily it was Tom, and we know Tom dots his i's and crosses his t's, but basically if he hadn't, if he didn't get the permit and we're giving him the money before he even has a permit, so.
No, it's a good point.
It's something for us to look at, and again, that's just because I'm looking into it, so.
No, fair.
But that's it.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome Karen, Tom. Thank you so much. It's nice to have a full board. And then I want to thank John for his many years of service on the DDA. He is very passionate about the downtown and was a great asset to us. And so I'm sad to see him go. But congratulations on all the fabulous things that are happening within their business and expansions. So very happy for him, but wanted to say thank you for everything that he did for us.
Great. Well, I kind of mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, but I will repeat, and I just got a couple of comments here. So again, welcome to you both. And a huge thank you to John. He did promise in his resignation letter to still be a part of things and help us, so we will make sure that he does that. So he was a really big force on the DDA and helping get things done, and he always took on kind of the rough projects of the plantings and the flowers and all that kind of stuff that took a lot of legwork, so he did a really good job. I do want to thank the board for the last 2 years as the chairman. We've gone through a lot of things, but we've definitely have made some great strides. So thank you for that for the last 2 years. I look forward to being on the board with you all, working on some smaller scale projects, so feel free to put me to work in that capacity. I do want to, again, just kind of make a public statement here because it was brought up earlier in the meeting. One of our attendees of the public made the comment as well. But I just really want to make sure that the board is very aware of the Open Meetings Act, very aware of what is a violation of the OMA. Things like round robining is something that is a violation. All business should take place at the board table. Discussions, if there's a quorum outside of the board, business is being had. So I would definitely suggest if someone has something that they want to have discussed, well, I guess I still have 1 more month as chairperson. If you have something you want on the agenda, let me know. After that, if you'd like something on the agenda, let the incoming chair know. But we should just make sure that for the sake of the taxpayers, for the sake of the residents, and for the sake of this board, to make sure that we are protecting the Open Meetings Act and protecting each other from any potential violations. So thank you to everybody for all their hard work, and I look forward to seeing a lot of these projects continue to move on. Thank you.
Well, I just want to say thank you for the warm welcome that I've gotten tonight. Thank you very much for that and for listening to me as I'm trying to catch up with everything. And I do look forward to working with the DDA, helping the DDA, and helping Romeo just do everything that they want to make it great. So I am looking forward to that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I don't know what to say after all these years, really. It was kind of a shock that I was even asked, and I'm flattered by it. And I'm looking forward to, I'm actually looking for my Hyatt Palma book, and I'm looking forward to some of the things we did during the DDA back in the day. But I'm really anxious to get involved with this program again, because obviously it's close to my heart. So
Tom and I served on the board 20 years ago together.
20 years. Yes.
I was a baby.
Yes. Yes. A lot of those people aren't here anymore.
Yeah, we held on.
Yeah, you betcha.
So, all right, we will take a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. A second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Did you say aye?
Aye. Said it
You
quiet.
have to vote. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.